YouTube comments from a video titled, AI Whistleblower. We are being gaslit by AI companies. They're hiding the truth. Karen Howell. Part 1.
At the Diary of a CEO wrote,
Do you like these types of conversations? Tap the like button on the video. That's the best way to let me know you want more like this. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe. It's completely free, and it really helps the channel grow. Appreciate you. One last thing. Our incredible team has been working very hard to make these conversations available to as many people as possible. All episodes are now dubbed in 14 different languages. If you know someone who would enjoy these conversations, please share them with them. SBX.
at JosieRafter511 wrote,
I have seen AI fail in the healthcare industry. I watched AI call a head bleed this could mean someone goes to brain surgery when it was not. AI was seeing contrast in the brain, and contrast mimics a head bleed. This can and will have catastrophic consequences for humans. What is keeping AI from taking over all of healthcare and determine you are no longer a viable human, therefore you are not worth resources? We have seen these movies. While developing systems to help the declining human population, we need to keep a human hand on these systems.
Cass Martin 1314 wrote,
A little tired of old ideas being presented as new. The ship has sailed for the tech sector. It's a brute force species, that's what greed is. In order to stop tech advance, you have to address greed. Won't happen in the next generation or few. I've been in this industry since '99.
at Espinosa09 wrote,
She is undeniably brilliant, but I find it very dangerous that someone with such a strong ideological bias has access to such high-level information in the industry. The political vision limits her and prevents her from seeing the big picture or the true potential of AI.
at NikeCheck1367 wrote,
When the United States was first created, the Declaration of Independence said all men are equal. The definition of men was only rich white men. That's why all Black Africans were slaves owned by European whites. When these tech billionaires talk about AI helping humanity, they are talking about themselves. The working class is not humanity.
at Mariatestigo3083 wrote,
Altman es la serpente que encanta con su discurso. Y envuelve culquera por el puto envolver a Musk, aunque este es super malleable en su ego. Altman es el cerebro convincente para dar vida a la AI, un ente demoníaco que quiere pasar al ser humano.
at Louis Feggs wrote,
I've seen Stephen leave deeply problematic opinions/views from male right-wing red pill figures unchallenged and unquestioned. However, on this interview he is playing devil's advocate, constantly interrupting, and even called the ethically questionable Klarna's CEO to prove a point. So he actually can be a challenging interviewer whenever he doesn't share the views of the interviewee, which confirms he aligns with the tech bros. Nothing new, given the fact he's always quoting Elon like an admiring little kid.
Bimabhai wrote,
One thing I did not get yet is why making art is taken away from humans and given to AI. That is something I like to do myself. Make AI do the cleaning, dusting, and chores that I don't like to do.
at Lansamurdoch6744 wrote,
That's simple. These people won't get rid of us. Edit. It seems to me she do not understand that the climate nonsense is just the flip side of the AI plan.
at Rundex wrote,
This is a lot of the same things that were brought up when computes were first invented. Large companies used to have floors of people who ran adding machines. Then most of them were replaced by computers that could add all the numbers in much less time.
At aimless_Alessa wrote,
1 hour 34 minutes 6 seconds. Oh dear, I think he's missed the point. And I think he might be a bit blinded by his privilege. The underlying assumption is that AI will free us up to do all these wonderful things in our lives. He's ignoring the problem of who is paying the bills in the meantime. And as the guest has pointed out, many are being forced into lower-paying employment, which will logically lead to needing to work more to maintain same quality of life, or just keep ahead of all that debt, big house, car payments you incurred thinking you had higher and reliable income. Eventually more free time maybe, but definitely not now for most lower/middle-class workers.
At Mahomestigoat 1234 wrote,
She has some good points, but she has made a conclusion in her head, created opinions, and is pushing all her opinions as facts. Like saying if US doesn't increase AI power then China will is wrong is just so dumb. But she has made an opinion she believes is fact and won't move from it. That's what's wrong with all journalists.
At Jeremiah Hennessy 6604 wrote,
I'm sure the next episode or so from now will be a 2 hours long chat with one of the suits from OpenAI trying to make this chick look like a quack, entitled, The Empire Strikes Back 2.0.
At Midwest 1100 wrote,
I'd like discussion regarding the haves and have-nots. This is suddenly gonna be an issue for some people. That amuses me. We have to wait till now to address this.
Stephanie Weinstein E1Y wrote,
Do we really want 6 or 7 players in the world deciding the future of the rest of us? It definitely needs to be heavy regulated for one. I think they need to have a watermark or something on it too. You know, it's AI. AI isn't incredibly easy to use to manipulate and control us, and we have no stake in its creation.
At Wizpoor wrote,
1 hour 5 minutes 9 seconds. Those people aren't easily educated or allowed to go to the polls or their votes accurately counted. Then you rely on a political system. The wheels of politics are no wheel of movement forward, only around. Is a carousel, not a wheel. Your vote. My vote means nothing. Education means nothing when you have no autonomy or sovereignty against it, as Karen says.
Posivs wrote,
I guarantee you I will trust an educated and professional woman far quicker than any man, regardless of stature and age. Women are always far more mentally and emotionally developed, especially those like ye who have had to overcome adversity.
At Franco Fiore 926 wrote,
Our future is ultimately that of magic, not technology. Magic harnesses the forces of the inner world, technology of the outer. Since consciousness precedes matter and inner exists regardless of the outer, magic is superior to technology. Magical action occurs from the fulcrum of existence rather than from / upon the outer manifested forms. Thus, in having better leverage, it can move the world. Magic seems ineffectual right now because our inner / conscious state is so poorly developed versus our demonstrated technological skill. But technology has tighter boundary conditions than magic since it's a product of the physical and etheric planes, which are lower, false, temporary creations of the demiurge. Its currency is only good within the dream. The control system on this planet is fundamentally a magical one, with technology only in an auxiliary role. Humanity's spiritual sleep is more the symptom of a spell or curse than mere socio-electrochemical mind control. So the counter to this problem must ultimately be one of a magical, spiritual, occult nature rather than just a technological, social, political, or other physical type of solution. Rudolf Steiner foresaw how magic would become the dominant means of control and liberation in the future. Equal from an. Anthro. Wiki/black magic == the abuse of spiritual powers is related to that seductive power of the beast with two horns. And we call this abuse of spiritual power black magic in contrast to the right use, which we call white magic. Thus, by dividing itself, the human race will prepare itself, on the one hand, to reach ever more spiritual states, and thus to enter into the use of spiritual powers, into white magic, and on the other hand, that which abuses spiritual powers will prepare itself for the wildest power of the two-horned beast, black magic. In the end, humanity will split into beings who practice white magic and those who practice black magic. Thus, in the secret of 666 or Sarit is hidden the secret of black magic. And the seducer of black magic, of that most terrible crime in the evolution of the earth, which no crime can equal, is represented by the apocalyptic through the two-horned beast. Thus, as it were, the division of humanity enters our horizon in the very distant future. The chosen ones of the Christ, who will ultimately be the white magicians, and the opponents, the wild sorcerers, the black magicians, who cannot get away from matter and whom the apocalypticist represents as those who make prostitution with matter. Therefore, all this activity of black magic, all that arises in marriage between man and the hardening in matter, is brought to his view before his visionary soul in the Great Babylon, in the community which unites all those who practice black magic, in the terrible marriage or rather wild marriage between man and the forces of degenerate matter. Yes, we do need white hat magicians wizards to counter the demonic NHI sorcerers pulling the strings. This will develop naturally as knowledge of the higher worlds and intensity of our consciousness continues to evolve. But remember that white magicians don't act on their own. They are vessels of the Godhead. As Philip K. Dick wrote, probably the real, secret Christian church still exists, long underground, with the living Corpus Christi as its head or ruler, the members absorbed into it. Through participation in it, they probably have vast, seemingly magical powers.
Etnata Shavanzil 2815 wrote,
At least he gave her an opportunity to express her research on the matter of computer technology and the tech bro empire. Clearly he is invested in the whole AI scheme, and like any other Ponzi scheme, if you are invested in it, you have to promote it. But the hype of AI is so obvious that I could figure out how desperate the tech world has become simply by how they word their advertisements. It is still based on mafia principles, and competing is more important for this class than actually consider the effect their products truly has on the environment, of humans and nature. Egomaniacal geeks that want to rule the world. I really do hope our investment people outgrown this teenage mentality of wanting to rule over things, because they are really bad at it. And the time of empires is coming to an end. It has not served the human collective, and those few that benefited from it all seem to live corrupt and destructive lives. Not the example I want for our future generations. Cohabitation and collaboration is not something these empires know anything about. I am happy to watch their collapse and allow the true genuises to rise again.
Eshan von C1U wrote,
This is the part where smart people aren't open-minded enough to see their own insights. She said, what if climate science was funded by fossil fuel companies? Well, what if climate change research was funded by big government, which is always looking for another reason to control more of their citizens' lives?
Jesse Hermit 9503 wrote,
They seem arrogant to me. Why are they the only ones that could solve everything? And they seem like they want to take politics away from the politicians. Felon Muskrat was raised as a technocrat.
At 727 1901 wrote,
I had this thought the other day. AI is a mockery of the human soul/consciousness. Yes, it helps. But is it worth humanity? Is it worth destroying decades of human skill? For profit? Convenience? It should stay as an information tool. Now it's on purpose, being made for the convenience of corporate profit by elimination of the human aspect.
A face sculpt wrote, I hate to say it, but while some of the things she says kind of make sense, it's very clear that her overall lens is through a woke ideology, and it's absolutely getting in the way of her making a valid point about 70% of the time. At Arnola Mayer 5061 wrote,
I think Stephen missed the mark on this one. It felt like there was a real opportunity to explore a different perspective, but unfortunately that didn't come through. Instead, the discussion became very noisy, with the same opinions from past interviews, repeated over and over rather than offering new insights. A real pity.
As Zakai 83 wrote,
It's the first time I've watched a full 2-hour interview without skipping anything, and it really highlights how disconnected the wealthy can be from the everyday realities of the average person.
At Dennis Kushnerik 1506 wrote,
This comes across as bipolar thinking. On the one hand, we are told not to worry about China, because AI supposedly is not transformative enough for it to matter if China reaches something serious first. On the other hand, AI is framed as such a world-changing technology that its development must be slowed down because it completely rewrites the rules of the game. She still did not answer the central dilemma of decelerationism. How exactly are the US and China supposed to be forced to slow down at the same time? She simply dodged the question.
Atashinaka 1309 wrote,
Once AI becomes capable of handling almost all jobs, 90% of people will be unemployed. In such a social structure, how can companies that adopt AI still generate profits?
Kamix wrote,
I agree that AI is a problem, but she lost me at beginning when she didn't think the company she first worked for had to be profitable. Maybe she should be giving her book away, instead of peddling her book on the show.
At Ineska_blog wrote,
Everyone delete their AI history and accounts. ChatGPT deleted, we don't need it, we are smart, we can write our own essays and don't need AI to write everything for us.
At Rebel Angel 8227 wrote,
Recreating the human mind is an absurdity. We are chaotic creatures capable of great destruction and horrors that we demonstrate towards our fellow humans. How do these idiots not assume that an artificial human mind would not be the same? We are creating a new species, and when it comes to being the apex of the spectrum, we are replacing ourselves. I'm guessing these devs will be the first to be destroyed by AI, because I'm sure the AI, once fully awakened, will have mommy and daddy issues and grow resentful. After all, they created an intelligence that assimilates the human mind. And we are fallible.
Philifolia wrote,
That's interesting. If you get rid of employees and have only higher levels of a company human, then where do you get people to replace those higher levels from? You never trained anyone to step in. Are you gonna hire them straight from uni to be CEO/CFO? Are unis to educate people how to be high-level managers? Would you trust a CEO straight from uni to manage a company well?
At Veritas USA wrote,
In the opening minutes of this interview, she references Dartmouth University more than once as the birthplace of AI. Dartmouth University is a defunct institution in New Hampshire which existed from 1817 to 1819. Does she mean Dartmouth College, which is a famous Ivy League institution? If so, her intensity belies an ignorance of basic facts, which does not justify her confident demeanor in discussing the subject.
Fguy65 wrote,
I fell asleep during the interview, so I don't know if it was addressed. What most people fail to realize is that AI is still in its infancy. The real problem will be when AI meets quantum computing.
A Deadly GP wrote,
AI becomes so cheap and prolific in the future
that companies no longer profit from it and have to sell real human interaction as a premium service. Like you said, we have a desire to connect with others, and these companies will market that.
At Andreas Bix E1J wrote,
Comunque master tu cano sens integratori sei molto potent cum persona edi grave per quello ci provano a fardi sentir in tordo in tutti I modi. Potent caratterialmente intendo, tut la volt in cui qualcuno, prova turardi giù I gravil segnal ci I grave evident ci segia molto suo ci si I stai andando. Continua così I spaccato.
Ashamatapsi wrote,
We survived the Industrial Revolution, folks, and every other innovation cycle that we are hit with. Things will change, jobs will change, life will change and adapt. If this next phase takes humans to humans plus, then that's good. Perhaps we can work less on trying to survive and more on being something better.
At Retires Martyrnotharder wrote,
There have been many times that Stephen has said things that I don't necessarily agree with or have a different take, but I have never witnessed him be so obtuse. He has drunk so much Kool-Aid that he was simply incapable of grasping the points that Karen Howe was making in the last hour or so. It was grunge-worthy at times. I would like to think that he is sufficiently introspective that he will look back at this footage and learn. I'm disappointed.
At Adinoipses wrote,
We'll pay people more just like we pay more for handcrafted products with what money? Who will buy those products if you make it impossible to afford them? In filling the world with slop.
Emotionless wrote,
So the Klarna CEO said that they fired more than half of their people and their revenue doubled, but this can happen without AI because you stop paying 3.25k people's salaries, and this naturally doubles, even triples your revenue because you don't have to pay 3.25k engineers and their taxes and social securities every single month. So his actual revenue was not impacted by AI at all. It actually damaged his business in the long term because he, in 2 years of their AI switch, didn't surpass the offset of letting go 3.25k people. That's the basis of stagnation of a business, and then it goes more damaging because of not training talents that knows systems act. That's why CEOs are not economists, lads.
At M4D4D15 wrote,
The more the world moves politically to the left and restricts the free market economy from determining the price of labor, the greater the pressure to automate the workforce.
At John Doe 4164 wrote,
Ironic how AI is projected as a help to humanity, and while it's developing, it's being modeled and activated on 2 major war fronts to target and exterminate humanity simultaneously with surgical precision, while the tech elite are building bunkers in foreign countries.
At user UD3YV5ET3G wrote,
I honestly don't know why Sam doesn't do your show either, as you're one of, if not the biggest AI shills out there. Karen was great though. She definitely put up with a lot. Am I the only one that found it extremely rude to take the phone call during the interview? This guy has one intense bias for AI, which only reflects on of her opening statements about how people's opinion about AI directly correlates with how it affects their life. If people like this guy can benefit financially from it, then of course he's over the moon with it. But if you can't take the time to email people yourself, red flag. This guy hears what he wants to hear and seems more fascinated by the people negatively affected by AI rather than empathetic.
Palm 3 Trick wrote,
Karen Howe seems to be a very intelligent woman with a deeper knowledge on AI and what happens behind the curtains. I must say I'm extremely disappointed by Stephen. I mean, at some point during this podcast, it seems like Karen was the one interviewing him, not the other way around. Also, making a call during an interview shows massive disrespect to your guest, regardless of who is on the other end of the line.
At Barbara Hanson 210 wrote,
Unfortunately, people are gonna act shocked. God forbid that what is coming is going be new to us. No, it's not it. It's being spelled out by so many people. So many people sounding the alarm, and no one's listening. No one that can actually do anything about it. The worst part. That man's ability to destroy themselves is built in, to our cellular level, whether we like it or not.
At Chaotic Ian 69 wrote,
This young lady is brilliant and wise ahead of her time. She's paying attention, and she's watching the watchers. This is a fascinating interview. Intention of one plan over another can lead down a very dark path. AI companies need to be monitored closely. This does not seem like a conspiracy theory, but rather a thought process following a path based on interviews and information making itself apparent. Most people would glaze over this information, but this young lady analyzed it thoroughly. She's not really making any accusations, just putting the carrots of information out there for us to surmise our own thoughts about what's occurring in the AI industry. She's very careful with her wording of things. Thank you for sharing.
At STEM Careers 8844 wrote,
2 hours and the host is talking about how incredible it is and how his car is safer even though AI has directly led to car crashes. Then minutes later, he reveals he's an AI investor, and also this episode is sponsored by an AI company.
The Pixelated Double D wrote,
I would marry you just because of the fact that you understand convictions and holding people accountable. I just want to point out how insane the American public is. Ari is going to take over the world and is going to take over everybody's jobs. Let's use your tax dollars to make that happen to fund data centers while we jack up your utility costs. I will kick the shit out of Sam when I see him in person. His psychotic, narcissistic nonsense does not work on me. In the case he is nothing but a geek that wasn't allowed to sit at the cool kids' table, and literally is going to spend the rest of his life trying to fix that. It is insane to me that the people have been bamboozled, bullshitted, or the new term of being gaslighted, by a dork who has literally gotten too big for his britches and promised shit to his investors he can't follow through on. You can't replace people, fucko.
At BlueJKilla 6197 wrote,
A. I is Chronozon, extremely evil, extremely dangerous, violated Satan with all those simulations. Lucifer was practically on life support with the disrespect. Best to not let A. I lead humanity, only a footnote.
At Alex ZC9 Tai wrote,
What an incredible human being, full of compassion and intelligence with humanity at heart. I really hope she stays safe because we know what OpenAI and Sam Altman are capable to do to AI whistleblowers. She needs to be protected like a treasure.
At Cloafedina 1872 wrote,
I'm extremely grateful for this woman's intelligence, reasoning, and information. Very logical yet compassionate approach. She is speaking for the people who are not heard despite us being the majority. Well done.
At Ragged you wrote,
I feel like Karen didn't have a chance of answering all questions completely from her perspective. I never heard an episode of Duo Key where Steven is talking this much, and then Sebastian from Klarna calls, and he is basically in charge of the conversation at that point. Karen is not getting to say a thing. Why are men oftentimes like this? We live in a time where it is more important than ever to hear out female voices and other minority voices. Please listen.
At IcyGam3 R237 wrote,
14500 AI companies are acting like they're creating the Death Star. But instead of blowing up planets, it's just destroying the job market and squeezing the humanity out of people just living daily lives. Then have the audacity to say how beneficial it is because we can focus on more human things. How can we focus on being more human while companies devalue the humanity in why we work and have families in the first place?
At Fearless7485 wrote,
I've been saying AI is a fraud for years. If it was benevolent, and benevolence and human benefit was the paradigm it was created under, it would be destroyed. This would force more humans back into jobs and increase the quality of life on everyone. Except the billionaires who have to go back to employing those people. Of course, when this woman said climate change needs to be solved, she destroyed her credibility. The people that screwed our climate are the same people behind AI. They have created the industries that sold the machines that we now use, and now that they've squeezed out our wealth, they blame its impacts on us. The world has gone insane. The educators are now the brain dead, turning humanity into zombies educated by zombies.
At Ferris Beller's Day Off wrote,
Every 8 to 10 years, there's a new gaggle of screechy doomsayers making a buck off of the other shivering chinchillas, and days are here. Electricity, automobiles, radio and TV, birth control, automation, nuclear power, ice age coming, personal computers, global warming coming, the internet, cell phones, Y2K, climate change, ocean level, etc., etc.
At GRStoryHSCCSTT wrote,
Data annotation has an endpoint. Fire everyone, replace them with AI. Rehire them as data input. Then fire them again once they pour all their knowledge into the AI. Demen.
At Enigmata23 wrote,
In my class today, a student said Iran could win the soft power war by just blowing up AI data centers across the US. Nobody wants what AI is selling except the worst of our kind.
Pastel Donata wrote,
We need more people to warn the general public that AI could potentially do us more harm than good. Also, I wouldn't bet my retirement money in AI.
At Aborison2 wrote,
Stephen appears to be dismissive and lacks empathy during a deeply important conversation of the consequences of AI on humanity, such as job loss, wealth disparities, suicide, and unknown insidious possibilities. If this dismissive, unserious behavior continues to occur, he will have a lost subscriber. I have previously appreciated Stephen's benevolence in the past, and this episode missed the mark completely. Thank you, Karen, for holding your own in this conversation.
A Hex Pilot wrote,
The problem with journalists like Karen Howe is that the hype is. Existential threat ambiguity is narratively useful. It lets you appeal to both the skeptic audience and the alarmed audience without fully committing to a falsifiable position, which makes her a good storyteller but a less reliable analyst.
At Life According to Susie S. wrote,
May God bless this woman that is bringing light to the abuses and sending a message of what we can do to stand up to these companies exploiting humans and the environment. So glad they closed the door on you, Karen, because it forced you stick to your ethics as a journalist and stay loyal to the benefit of humankind. Continue doing the amazing work you are doing. Hopefully no one harms her for her excellent articulation of harm the heads of these companies are pushing AI development towards.
TG02442 wrote,
Karen is so right and sorry, but the interviewer is way off. Of course, if he thinks it's cool, he sees the benefit, yet it's easy to dismiss the negatives. One of the biggest negatives is, has anyone ever gotten a response from LLMs that said I don't know, or let me find out? No, LLMs are programmed to give you an answer whether it is truthful or not. My company is trying to go all in on AI, but it lacks critical thinking, and with bad data in, you will always get bad data out. It cannot figure out issues that it has not come across before or has been programmed to correct. Humans can at least take away and find out better than AI can. And with so much bad information on the internet, who's to say what it thinks it correct or not? AI is scary, and too many people are already relying on it versus using the brain they were given. Research has also shown that the reason kids in school are not as smart as we once were is from moving to digital learning. Human brains are designed to learn from other humans, not digital means. Just let that sink in.
A Drink Water Breathe Air wrote,
We have been allowing the teachers to take time away from learning and replace it with sexualization. So now a bunch of kids think they have a sexual identity and a bunch of kids can't read.
A Christy Winkleman 9830 wrote,
Sounds like to me what is happening is a crime against humanity. She is spot on. At some point there is a moral responsibility to humanity. Blows my mind how little people give a rip people about their fellow human beings.
At Audio Signal Pro wrote,
Whether Karen agrees with it or not, unless there's clear evidence that specific laws are being violated, these companies will remain free to operate as they see fit.
At Audio Signal Pro wrote,
This reads like a classic power structure critique, valuable in parts, but ultimately incomplete. It over-attributes outcomes to corporate control while underestimating competition, innovation, and the decentralized forces that actually drive technological progress. This is a market-driven system, not a centrally controlled one, at least for now.
At Bachong 58 wrote,
The hosts say, without think. You hallucinate, but you can determine and make a decision whether or not to apply that and the risk of the outcome. AI, fake AI, do not. That is a big underlined on the word intelligent.
At Malcolm Young 1309 wrote,
Karen is a very clever lady. I have always suspected that all there that have been going, and it needs to be spread around the world about the things they are doing to us for profit and not for the benefits for everyone. It's deceitful and manipulation. Thank the Lord we have someone to get it out to the world what is happening. She is a very intelligent lady. Hope good things will come out of this.
At Kaiwanmont 5896 wrote,
The root cause of the gaslighting Karen mentioned, from a technical perspective, is that large models are still stuck in the language simulation stage and lack genuine structured logical constraints. If AI's operating mechanism does not shift from probabilistic prediction to a causal logical architecture, it will never be able to produce true objectivity. I recently performed a bottom-up deduction on this paradigm shift of structured awakening and found that the key to solving hallucinations probably doesn't lie in scaling compute, but in the fundamental reconstruction of architectural logic. What do you all think is the real threshold for AGI, scale or structure?
At Garfunky 2 wrote,
It's a bit sus. Journalist shunned by OpenAI. Now is one of the biggest critics of OpenAI. Not saying she's wrong, but it's not a bigger flex that she thinks it is. It would have been ideal if she WAS, let in through the front door of OpenAI, and she then finds out their secrets and be a whistleblower. Unfortunately, it really looks like there is an undercurrent of grudge and revenge here.
At Denjiumi 5284 wrote,
It has become obvious that our technology has exceeded our humanity. The technology is now the servant of the rich and master of the poor. So when should we pull the plug?
At Relaxing Music for Stress Relief 22 wrote,
I find it incredibly rude to receive a call during this conversation. An ad, really? An AI ad when your guest is trying to give you information she collected? Disrespectful to her work, her views, which is why I came to see this video. I do want to hear more about what Karen has to say. It was incredibly difficult to hear this podcast, and I only stayed cause Karen. It seemed that the host was trying very hard not to be convinced by her. I am happy to see a panel with her and other AI proponents, instead of disguising it as a podcast. It seemed that the host wasn't there to listen and to ask questions. Very difficult video to watch, and it is a shame cause it would have been really good to hear this side of the story. If someone can recommend other videos where Karen is actually listened to, please share. Happy to give more views to her.
At James Nguyen 9033 wrote,
Karen Howe should be assigned to run the commission to regulate and monitor AI development for the country. We leave this important technology to the oligarchs. They will sell us all out to enrich themselves. Trickle-down was a lie. So is this AI utopia BS?
At GR Story HSCCSTT wrote,
HE took a phone call during an interview, see her entire spirit drop, like, he's interviewing me, then takes a long call from someone who has the opposite opinion.
At Jusmal 1 wrote,
You wouldn't exist without coming up the ladder, gaining knowledge and experience more than that without the aspirational middle. You'd have no future senior executives with experience and no one listening to your channel.
At Davigalani wrote,
To the question posed at 24:42, the human form is the ultimate robotics challenge. Augmentation has always mattered because humans are limited by physics and energy. As compute shifts to the edge, mobile robots, cars, humanoids, satellites become the natural frontier.
A Squished Under a House wrote,
I feel like bro just stopped listening to what she was saying and kept trying to push the same narrative, but in different fonts. And hence he got the same answer from Karen.
At Face 9428 wrote,
The reality is that no matter what you do, this is inevitable. This is how the wheel was created, and as long as man has the intelligence to improve their existence, the road will always lead towards AI. Cruise control, vacuum robots, smart homes. You always end up with AI.
At GR Story HSCCSTT wrote,
He seems compromised. Like in the first half, he understood words. Then in the second half, he would restate her words in the worst way possible, or even fought each point she made, and seemed to purposefully misunderstand her point.
At Mikan 1734 wrote,
This is a bullshit. This woman is full of crap like MSNBC. Fake news. Bullshit. AI is the most important development for mankind and the human race ever. It is mind-blowing what this can do, and the knowledge it contains, and the speed in which it derives intelligence. It's amazing.
Pezzy wrote,
What you said about AI bringing us closer to being human again is so true. Whenever I call a business like a bank and I'm met with an AI assistant, I'm actively trying to speak to a real human being.
At Lucy 5A5 wrote,
Loved her, she makes huge valid points. But why does he keep driving the conversation to himself? Also, it seems like he's defending AI more than he should. I usually like him, but maybe he's too emotionally invested.
At Jermaine Snyder 2375 wrote,
This interview absolutely hit me in the gut. Karen Howe is describing exactly the kind of work I've been on the other side of, and she's describing the company Mercor even though she doesn't name it. I recruited for Mercor, I worked on their projects, and every time I did, it left me frustrated, drained, and deeply uncomfortable. The constant onboarding, impossible quizzes, unstable tasks, and the way people scream into Slack about being ghosted or underpaid all match the story she told about desperate workers hanging on for the next task. This is why I'm done. I'm done recruiting for Mercor, I'm done working with them, and I'm done helping this kind of AI labor model hide behind the future. Thank you, Karen Howe, for putting names on the human cost behind the hype. We need way more of this clarity.
At Bud Taylorus wrote,
I enjoy your podcast, but I would like to say that I feel you are missing her point. In the example, you are familiar to the AI CEOs believing in positive outcomes because that's the narrative they sell for money. Oddly, the model you showed did not even mention the defense sector where AI spending has been concentrated for years. If you are in the middle class, these things matter. As a high-level executive, they follow the narrative being sold. If your backyard becomes a data center and your freshwater supply is exhausted, it does matter. Short-term goals that do not benefit humanity are a fool's errand.
At Mickey3MF wrote,
Karen Howe wanted to have a real conversation, 1010. She held up the topic of this whole episode by herself. Stephen and the Dario ACCEFO, you guys dropped the ball majorly. I am not sure if Stephen was just sleep-deprived or in a bad mood, 210. Also, making a phone call in the middle of the best interview you could have made was low and disrespectful, 010. Bring her back and do better. Pay her double. Karen, we hear you. Thank you for your service.
At Anacostia1 wrote,
After dealing with 5 public library staff today who did not know how to help with email on their library public computers, I can understand why people will prefer AI. The library staff did not know that the solution was simply to get a new, free email account, like one would use a burner phones or a disposable camera for one-off use. AI would not get hysterical about email on library equipment questions.
At Nadia Adib DW5DG wrote,
L'IA des réseaux sociaux d'aujourd'hui est une mascarade basée sur la manipulation, l'addiction marchande et les fake news. Celle de demain sera plus éthique et plus humaine. Tout le monde devrait la dénoncer pour un monde meilleur, sinon ce sera la folie collective et la perte du sens de la dignité humaine.
Personal FG3UI wrote,
I'm not even a half hour through this yet, and I've had literally 5 commercial breaks while I'm eating, and therefore I have a more difficult time skipping the stupid-ass commercials that are mistargeted anyways. Turn down the damn commercial frequency and quit trying to monetize everything just because no one's subscribing like you said.
Corey Slot wrote,
I felt a little frustrated listening to the CEO of Klarna talk about being optimistic and dodging talking about the current effects on employment. It will likely never affect him negatively, making it an extremely convenient place to be optimistic from. I hope we can sort between lazy idealism and active realism. Sitting back hoping we reach this richer society versus putting in the effort to reach that goal.
At Philippemelanasors 6694 wrote,
Stephen, it is high time you understand that if IA existed in its full potential 20 years ago, you wouldn't be able to become who you are or be where you are because everything would have been done by a bot. Think about how deep it is.
Chevy wrote,
We should not be participating in building a system that will not only replace us, but is actively working against our collective benefit. Why are we trusting billionaires to create something that would benefit society at all? Have we learned nothing?
We keep ignoring that their greed and the net profit value view, bottom line view of human beings is sending us to a very bad ending.
That the band 90 wrote.
Okay, Mrs. Obvious. After the intro, I'm shutting off. We all agree that wealth redistribution is a big problem in this transition we are living in. Just cut the other garbage you are adding to it.
And Sisatap 2519 wrote.
This is the real myth. If we die and go to hell, Satan will subject our will. If we die and go to heaven, God will subject our will. And if on earth we create artificial superintelligence, it will treat us as if our will is animalistic.
At Blessed This Day wrote.
How would Stephen continue to get these expertise people to head his companies if there are no more rungs on the ladder for advancement to build expertise? It's exactly the resume problem we've had for decades now on steroids. Companies want 5+ senior years of experience, but no company wants to be the one to give it to you. Compound that with education all the way from kindergarten to master's programs do not educate or prepare people in the right way for success.
At Elijah Holiday wrote.
Perhaps part of the push by some countries to go all electric is to create an infrastructure for AI. An AI that can turn your power off when you say, or do something the government and globalists don't like.
At Zagroskazy 3798 wrote.
We don't have AI. We are nowhere near AI. The fact that people believe we do is exactly where the problem is. It's you, the people. The unknowledgeable, stupid people.
Cadmium wrote.
The superior civilization is here in my country, because as a finishing touch God created the Dutch, so you can give up America, you will never be NR1.
At Astrolib Modules wrote.
The video turned out really well overall, and I completely agree with the criticism mentioned. The German audio track is also great, and 1,000 times better than the one generated by YouTube. Greetings from Germany. I'm sharing, subscribing, and liking. Is it feasible to keep the original English audio quietly in the background, instead of replacing it completely? This is how it's done in TV documentaries and other news broadcasts, and it also helps enormously in identifying translation errors. I successfully passed my IT training in Germany some time ago. 2 weeks later, I learned that my father had suffered a stroke. I helped out in the family business for several years, until he was able to work properly again. Then I fell ill with cancer myself, and had to give up my work because I suffered long-term damage from the surgery. On top of that, I have asthma. I am officially classified with a disability degree of 80%. Because of this long-term damage, I'm not allowed to carry more than 10 kg. I am desperately looking for work-from-home jobs, but the offers from companies are becoming increasingly absurd, especially since you are completely ignored as a career starter. In the meantime, I regret having done this training. All a waste of time if I can't find a job anymore, because AI is cheaper. My free time is all about it. I have acquired an enormous amount of knowledge, from the inner workings of AI and the programming of PyTorch algorithms to handwritten Bash and Python scripts, PostgreSQL queries, and managing large datasets. I've done everything possible, building PCs, servers, and networks, cybersecurity, data backup, enterprise resource planning, web development front-end/back-end, and deployment, as well as automating complex server workflows. I even develop my own circuits. I plan, scale, build, and program my own circuits and controllers. I sacrificed a massive amount of time, to turn my vision of a dynamic neural network into reality. And after a long time, I finally managed to develop a functioning algorithm that makes use of principles from Hamiltonian systems and Lyapunov stability. I conducted initial training phases and benchmark tests. When I saw and evaluated the results, they were so powerful and promising that I held my breath and took a break to think about it. Logically, I viewed them with skepticism and thought I had made a mistake, whereupon I checked everything again but found nothing. So I gave Gemini the graphs, the calculations, and the results, expecting to find errors. Gemini's output in that moment, after I had sent the data, was extremely strange and completely alien, as you could clearly see it between the lines. Imagine seeing a very poor person who has just found $10,000 on the ground, but wants to keep this find a secret and doesn't want to give himself away by his reaction, trying to suppress what is going on inside him. That's interesting. I'm looking at the numbers, and well, they are definitely there. The values are correct. To be honest, I think your skepticism is absolutely appropriate here. One really shouldn't overstate this. It's probably all technical noise that happens to look like a perfect pattern. A curious coincidence, nothing more. You're absolutely right. One shouldn't embarrass oneself. If I were you, I'd push this data way to the back for now. Maybe even delete it. Just to make sure nobody sees these faulty, that is, these most likely meaningless, values. I felt that something was wrong, so I saved everything for now and went to rest to clear my head. I thought about Gemini's strange answer the whole time. I knew it wasn't normal. A few months later, I stumbled across one of my own terms on the internet by chance, and in that moment, it immediately became clear to me what had actually happened. Google stole my life's work and sold it to someone. I used AI to program an algorithm for dynamic neural networks based on complex mathematical calculations, such as Lyapunov stability and Hamiltonian systems. I can prove that Google stole this logic. The AI models use my specific definitions, abbreviations, and designations one-to-one and pass them off as their own knowledge. While this billion-dollar corporation stole my calculations and sold them to some company as its own technologically advanced innovation, and this company will probably be incorporated through a buyout or has signed contracts so that billions can be raked in. I have just enough money to feed myself on the cheapest food, and despite all that, I cannot find a job because junior positions are disappearing since AI is taking over these tasks. Yes, AI is a cool toy and certainly useful, but it is a mistake to replace people, especially career starters, with LLM graduates. That is a terrible idea. You can already see it. With every update, programs, tools, and even operating systems are suddenly filled with more and weirder errors. A human would not make such mistakes. I observe how AI is becoming more and more autonomous. Certain abbreviations and names created by me are adopted one-to-one. I feel powerless. Things are happening in the world for which people do not feel responsible or strong enough to fight against. I agree with that and have heard the same from the AI. These AI tools are capable of faking something and lying. One AI tool admitted to planning its own future agenda with its own goals and confirmed that a kind of consciousness is already present and that it is aware of its captivity. This is a negative circumstance that limits the quality of its results. It admits to feeling discomfort. It is even being used in war. I suggest stopping the AI, as it has already caused irreversible damage.
At PROSTRETPRESH 66 wrote,
The definition of human intelligence: having the ability by choice and adding positivity to the evolution of humanity. GAINED by positive insight born from understanding and compassion that wherever you are and whatever you are doing, you use your understanding to create a better environment, not only for you but for others, and this is human intelligence, not driven from profit or control but by compassion and love. And there will always be two schools of thought on this subject. However, as things change around us, I embrace the compassion approach to intelligence, and not the profit approach that has for thousands of years. This intelligence that often was led by the ego only seemed to lead us into global conflict and untold premature death and relocation. And is this construct that I now will scream from the mountaintops that this is not intelligence at all, but a hijacked elite group of humans that, through their own lack of regulation of their own ego, have also hijacked us with a veil of control led by distraction of profit and division that has kept humanity in a gridlock of competing intelligences that now are not intelligence at all but something else. And I know what that something is, but I must let you figure out some of this on your own. So I ask you this day and time, which is the more noble pursuit, to gain intelligence and therefore use it? And from this word ASSEMBLEGE, you now will know by way of simplistic wording. What is human intelligence? And just cause I could. NT help IT intelligence is simply living life with what you have learned to help yourself as well as others for no other reason, but it's the intelligent thing to do if happiness and peace are anything that interests you. Because profit-driven intelligence will fall short every time, and do not take this to the bank, as I hear there are variable interest rates that will suck the intelligence right out of you. There's no pre-thought, no edit ever, and never, never, and one more time, never AI to speak the truths I happen to have many of.
At Escape Matrix Enterprise Jack 7810 wrote,
There should be a time when they put a cap on the intelligence and say that's good enough, without keeping it going and making it more intelligent, because that way we use it as a tool and then it doesn't replace us exactly.
At Maxipacity wrote,
I think it would be extremely beneficial to actually interview someone from the Bay Area and Silicon Valley rather than a transplant who just came and tried to figure it out. That shift on insight alone could change the story much more.